in heaven, we come before you early this morning to seek you and to study your word. I pray that you be with us as we try to understand and grapple with these things. And I pray that you hasten the footsteps of those that are looking to join us as well this morning. I pray all these things for your precious dear Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. A couple of chapters to look at in connection with this that we looked at yesterday. Ezekiel chapter 1. For those of you that aren't aware, the young man from New York that's either having a mental breakdown or he's demon possessed. By the time he got back to New York, he's identifying himself not only as a prophet, but he is the Word made flesh. So he's went into either, I don't know. To me, it's either mental institution or demon. I would think demon.
He's also young, so it could be just attention grabber. He's wanting attention.
Yeah,
it's
but
more
there has to
than that.
be
It's
some limits to get attention.
That's part of it. He was trying to draw attention to himself. But Sister White says that every work for reform fanaticism is there. Satan's underground to seek to bring in fanaticism. It has to happen at every meeting. That was just one.
Yeah.
Of the manifestations during this last meeting. Let's do Ezekiel 1, and it's 28 verses. And we're starting there because of verse 1. What's verse 1?
It's the cleaning off. It's the Mara. Where the Mara vision.
It's the Mara vision. It's July 21st. It's midnight. Everyone understands why?
50th of the fourth month.
Okay, and let's read 2 verses each. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God in the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of Jehoiachin's captivity.
2.
Let Tanya do 2.
The word of the Lord came expressively unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar. And the hand of the Lord was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of ember, out of the midst of the fire.
Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings.
Notice the number 4 as we go through here in this history.
You're going to mention that?
Go.
Oh yeah. We were talking about last night. We were talking about the 10 Commandments being in the binding off right at the midnight cry time period. And Sister White says when she sees the 10 Commandments, she sees a soft glow around the 4th.
So
So
the
the
10
number 4
and the
again.
number 4 is right there.
Are marked together.
That-
She actually says that upon all of them there was a glow, but on the 4th one was even a stronger one.
And
Yeah, the point of this
It
fourth
stands
is
out.
emphasized.
Yeah.
So wait a second. What do you mean?
Well, the two, you've got the 2 tables of stone, the 2 charts being manifested at the binding off. It's the entering into covenant with the Lord, but it's the 10 Commandments, and we know that Smyrna is marking that as a number 10. We've got several 10s in there. So the 10 Commandments, but specifically the 4th is the one that shines it. So you got a number 10 marking a test there, God's law, but the number 4 as well. So just thought that's relevant to this.
Yeah, and the 10 Commandments, you realize it's broke up by the first 4 and then the last 6. So God's number must not be just 7, but it's 4.
It's all he.
4 and 3.
One of the things that I wanted to, there wasn't enough room with what Noel illustrated on the board. In that scenario of the ark, and then the lamp, and then the Shekinah, it would have been nice to also fit in there in the Shekinah area an illustration of Christ when John and Daniel see him, where his legs are and his feet are like fire and his legs of brass. Because one of the things that's happening there is that Christ is being illustrated in his various attributes, and one of them there is this is Palmoni. That's why I forgot about it. That I was going to say this yesterday. That's why I was lining up all the numbers there of 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 12. This is where all these numbers are coming together, and there he is Palmoni, the wonderful numberer.
Yeah, I know.
So you got lots of connections with the numbers in there. Brother Gabriel?
Remember 5 other Jeff, the word appearance is actually the word mare.
Yeah. No, 9 out of 10 times appearance in the word is mare. I don't know if it's 9 out of 10 times, just the majority.
7.
5 and 6, or 7 and 8. 7. What is it? 1, 2,
7,
7 and 8.
Yeah. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and their forehead they had their faces and their wings.
Oh, their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle.
Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went.
Yeah. In the prophecy school, I asked, not a big deal, but asked how many wings they had, and someone from the audience said 6.
Yeah. John,
Pardon me?
the living creatures or the beast in John have 6 wings.
But I was asking about
Yeah,
here.
these have
Right.
4.
These have 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if you put them together, you have 4, 6 with the wings.
Oh.
But in John, you don't have a description as which one of them having 4 faces. It's just each individual has one of
Yeah.
the characters.
Yeah. They all have one face, but it's these 4
Right.
entities.
As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning.
Yep. In verse 13, they had like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures.
The lamp.
That's the lamp, probably. That's the church triumphant, probably. But I mean, there's an echo of Abraham's
Yeah.
covenant here, where the lamp is going between the sacrifices.
Zechariah sees that candlestick, and it's got a lamp on top of it, and out of it comes the 7 branches, but it's specifically marking that lamp, and there's 2 trees, one on either side. I think it's the same representation as the sanctuary is represented in some ways, but
Also the ladder, we're told that the angels are ascending and descending, and that's the light too on that ladder that goes up and down. Angels.
Carrying the message of light, light bearers.
These are not angels, they're called cherubs. And I think there's a distinction between angels and cherubs.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of people in this room, but there's Germans and Brazilians
Satan's the covering cherub.
and Mexicans, and they're all people.
He's an angel.
Scott.
Cherubims is a type of angel.
Yeah.
It is, but
Yeah.
it's a different level kind of
Yeah.
angel.
There's something I want to point out here. These beasts have 4 faces. Or these creatures have 4 faces, and the beasts have 1 face each in
Seraphim.
yeah.
In Revelation.
In Revelation.
That's what she just said.
Yes. So my point was, if anyone remembers what I was trying to say about conflation, that what happens with the creatures in Revelation, they get conflated into one entity in Ezekiel. they're brought together where they become one entity, whereas they're four
Okay,
entities.
just for me, I know everyone else has it, but what's the definition of conflation?
It's where you bring two things together or more than one thing together and they lose their individuality. Or they seem to lose their individuality. They lose their distinct characteristics, whereas when they're separated, they have defined, distinct characteristics. But sometimes the Bible and spirit prophecy and people, just when they speak, bring things together for the purpose of emphasizing the point. And there's a point being emphasized by them being together, and there's a point being emphasized by them being apart. So.
And the point that they shows that they have straight legs as the legs of a cat, like almost like they're animalistic looking. And then Sister White says that there's a hand that comes underneath their wings, and she says that these are the hands of God guiding and leading the lives within the will and the actions that are happening in the world.
Whose turn? Daisy, did you read?
And what verse are we on? Verse 15. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one ruled upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the colour of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel.
What color is beryl?
There's three references in the Bible to beryl. It's Christ in Daniel 10, it's Ezekiel 1 and 10, and also beryl. If you look up the meaning of the word Tarshish,
Wait a second.
if you look up the meaning of the word Tarshish, it means beryl. So that's the three references I found for beryl when looking at it in Esther of the wise men, one of the wise
Okay,
men.
do that again.
There's three references in the Bible.
To beryl.
Well, at least these three are specific, this same word when I looked it up in the Strongs, and one is Christ in Daniel 10. And then in Ezekiel 1 and 10, speaking of the wheels, they're the color of beryl. And then the wise men in Esther 1:14, one of the wise men's name is Tarshish, and his name means beryl. I don't know the connection there, but that's definitely there.
Also, the word wheel is also found in 1 Kings 7:32.
Wait a second. We got
We've got
3 or 4
everybody talking at
conversations
one
going
time,
on here.
yeah.
First off, what color is beryl?
Apparently, according to Google, beryl is the most alluring and popular mineral.
Yellow
that occurs
jasper,
in
yellow
That colour
color.
over there.
diversity.
Is it
Yellow.
that colour over there?
This
Oh.
this is what the web says, but it says that it can appear in many different colors. It's not just one color.
Yellow jasper. is what
Yellow
Strong's
jasper,
says.
yellow colored stone.
That's what that's what it says in the Strongs too. So
The word
most
wheel,
popular is this.
I looked it up.
Michael.
The word wheel, I looked it up, and it's the word ophon, and it's also found in 1 Kings 7:30-32 that is dealing with the sanctuary of Solomon, and it's talking about that every base had 4 brazen wheels. It's the same word that is used there. So the wheels of that is connecting with the sanctuary.
Oh, you had 4 wheels on your. Did you have 4 when you drew the line?
I have 5.
Oh, you had 5. Alright, so
1989, 9/11, Midnight Cry, Sunday Law.
I was thinking
close
it was
of
the 4
probation.
points, but there's 5 lines.
Go ahead, Brother Peter.
So we're 16 or 17?
17.
But before we go on, then we have to admit that Christ is the color of beryl. So Christ is the same color as the wheels. So Christ is the wheels. Right? That's his
Well,
color.
I don't know if he is the wheels, but he's probably is the will the same way that the angels are Christ and the angels are the messages and the angels are the messengers. He's associated with everything.
He is everything. Sorry.
He allows
No,
it all to work
I mean,
perfectly.
I'm not arguing against you. I'm just saying he's going to. That's what this is. In the Gospels, when you have these 4 faces, they're all about Christ. He's the King. That's Matthew. He's the sacrifice. That's Mark, the ox. He's the man. That's Luke. And he's the heavenly being. That's John. So all of these are attributes of Christ.
Plus 2.
What?
I was going to say plus 2 in verse 1. Ezekiel says that this vision was visions of God.
Mara vision.
Yeah.
The one face that disappears from the 4 living creatures is the face of ox that is replaced by a face of cherubim in chapter 10.
Brother Bud?
Let me read from Easton's Bible Dictionary. It says, this also is the rendering given in the Authorized Version in the margin. That was a gold-colored gem, the topaz of ancient authors. So, looks like it might have
So
been
it's,
gold-colored.
okay, so it's like, it's what we would understand as topaz, is what you're saying?
I found a different definition.
What were you going to say?
What I was saying is that the angel clothed in linen
Oh, you
is commanded in chapter 10 verse 2 to go between the wheels, and he fills his hand with coals of fire. So the angel in linen is Christ, and we were saying, the association of him and the wheels. So this angel we know is Christ, and this is the message, which is the messengers going between the wheels to grab the coals of fire. So
Whose turn to read?
Right here. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their wings were full of eyes round about them 4.
What are the eyes?
the eyes of the seven spirits.
7 spirits of God.
7 spirits of what?
God.
So that's of the chalk stone in Zechariah, it's got 7 eyes. Same thing. Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, unless you got some reason to pull it out of the.
It's a foundation. These are the eyes that go to and fro through all there.
Yep. Brother Jim?
And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went, thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels.
When those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels, and the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of a terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above.
How is it that the spirit is in the wheels? We've already read it. It's pretty simple. We've already defined it too. The wheels have the eyes in it, and the eyes are the 7 spirits. So Ezekiel's agreeing with Revelation. Sister Tamina?
Oh, hang on. Do we have any any insight on the why it's mentioned that the direction they would take was only like this? They didn't turn. What that's about?
They go on a line. They go forward.
Prophecy was seen to be a figurative delineation of events leading down to the close of this earth's history. They're going one way to the close of this earth's history.
Sister White says go forward.
Don't turn to the right or to the left.
But I don't know.
Just,
That fits, but I don't know.
2 things. Beryl is called the stone of Tarshish, and it's also chalcedony in the breastplate of the priest. So just to kind of put more information out there.
Chalcedony, the one that lights up?
No,
That's
it's
the
one of
Urim
it's
and
just
the
one
That's
of
the
the
Urim
ones
and
in the
Thummim.
row. It's just one of the ones in the breastplate.
Yeah, it's Asher.
Chalcedony it's Asher.
That's what he was just saying, that it matches one of the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
At one point we have defined the wills within the wills of being the events that had happened. And also, I was just wondering, he says that here that when the wheels were taken up, that when they had with God, the wheels would go up, and that the spirit was within the wheels. I was just wondering if this could be any reference between when the word of the prophecy would be sealed up, that the wheels are taken up. If that would be any connection with that. And also the 4 living creatures, when they go in one direction, it's like you've got the 4 lions going in one direction, you've got the 4 eagles going in one direction, you've got the 4 human faces going one direction, you've got the 4 oxes going one direction. You always have it in the line of 4 doing the same kind of work, the same kind of face. That has a significance.
The word Tarshish is Beryl.
That's what Rowan said.
Oh, yeah, that's what you did.
4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago.
It
No,
says,
that's right.
it sounds like in verses 19 and 20, it sounds like when they're tarrying in their tents, whenever the cloud stopped, they tarried. Whenever the cloud went up and moved, they moved.
Yes.
And the other day, you were putting at every waymark the sign of Jonah the prophet, and it was marked with the smoke. And in the Bible, you can show that smoke and the cloud is synonymous. So the cloud is there marking every waymark, as is the smoke, and it's also marked here by a wheel. When the wheel stops, according to the Spirit, because there's an outpouring of the Spirit every one of those marks as well. Maybe that's wrong. Just see this all linked.
And there's a lifting up at every point because there's a messenger lifted up, messengers lifted up at each of those points.
Yeah.
Sister Heather, did you have your hand up? Did someone back there have their hand up?
Yes.
Other than Tyler?
Are you ready for me?
I don't know. Go ahead.
So when
Where's
you
your
look
dad?
at, he left.
He went home?
Yeah, last night.
Okay.
When you look at the way they're only going straight, and they're only going up and down. They're drawing waymarks. They're drawing lines.
Amen.
It's only going straight, and then it goes up. That's the midnight cry. It continues, comes down, it goes straight, it goes up again. That's the Sunday law. And you see this progression where it's going only up and down and going straight. It's drawing the lines.
They're drawing the lines, exactly.
Yeah. It's like it's the pen.
I like that.
It's the pen on the board for this entity.
Both the sounds.
Whose turn to read? Damina?
That would be a rebuke.
What would be a rebuke?
That, so you could get this and do it out and actually follow this and draw a reform line by following this. That would be a
If it
big
did say
rebuke to
go
those that
east to
will be
west.
mocking the lines.
Just to remind you all, when you're speaking, while other people are speaking, it's not cool, but that wasn't what I wanted to remind us of, Tyler. Project your voices, because we still, even with this fancy microphone, get feedback that people can't hear the audience and what they read and say. So project your voices a little bit more.
And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Every one had two, which covered on this side, and every one had two, which covered on that side of their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of the speech, as the noise of the host. When they stood, they let down their wings.
When they stood, they let down their wings.
It also says that their wings are as the sound of many waters, and then it associates it with the voice of God. So
Yeah.
their wings have something to do with God's
Thunder.
voice.
God's voice is thunder.
Sister Brahma?
25 and 26.
Yep.
And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it.
And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had the brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the days of rain, in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord, and when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake.
Sister Tamina?
We read that the wings covered their bodies and they touched the wings, so when they stand and they put their wings down, you can see their bodies. So basically, they reveal themselves, just what happened with the most holy place, right? If they take down the wings, you are able to see them.
So it's an understanding of the message, I think, what you're giving it, right?
It's opening the message of the angel.
Yeah, at each point. This is seven thunders.
So all of the above. It's all every effect of every vision.
It says that the angels are beneath the firmament, and above the firmament is the throne. And so when we have what Noel drew the other day, you have the veil being lifted in the Ark of the Covenant here, and we had it on a line, then right below that, the line would be the firmament, and you have the angels lined up beneath the throne. And above them is the glory of God, it says, right? So the glory of God is the Shekinah glory. And then there, for some reason, there's a firmament, and they're beneath that.
At the top of the
But
mercy seat.
in chapter 4, it tells
They're up top. Mercy seat.
No, the throne.
Michael, in
Yeah,
chapter
yeah.
4, it tells us that it says that that they came out of the midst of the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. And also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're standing beneath the throne. So for whatever reason, God is directing our minds to His glory, a firmament, and they're beneath that, underneath, and all of these activities are happening. So I'm not sure what that means, but it seems like if you would draw it at the board, the Shekinah glory would be up where we had it. If we can think of what we saw at the camp meeting, right? That's there. There's a line, and below the line are the activities of the earth, the wheels within the wheels, the angels, the messages going forth, and above that, they're directly getting their source of light, which is the Shekinah.
So Noel did it wrong.
No, Noel did it right. No, he didn't. He did it right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
He's got one line
I'm just trying to
represented,
use
but
his.
all the lines are there.
Yeah.
Okay, so all I want to derive out of that for certain is that when Ezekiel receives the Mara vision on July 21st, which is midnight for us, it's just ahead, that the number 4 on several witnesses is right there. This is the binding off of the number 4. There, I mean, a ton of other stuff in there, but I wanted to put that in the record. Go to Habakkuk.
Habakkuk.
Yeah, everyone know who Bacchus is?
The goddess of wine or the god of wine?
Yeah.
The god of wine. Everyone know that in cultures especially that are into drinking and partying, that there's certain songs that get sung in the bar room. Yes?
No.
Like Scotland probably has some bar room ditties. What is the name for a bar room for a drunken song? Let's say it that way. No one knows. You've never what?
Never been there, so I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to be there, but you might know there's a definition for a song of Bacchus, if that's how you pronounce it. And if you turn to chapter 3 of Habakkuk, verse 1, it says a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth, if that's pronounced right. That's a drunken poem or song to Bacchus. So something about the drunkenness of Bacchus is being emphasized here in chapter 3. And it says, a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known. In wrath remember mercy. Where's that at?
Well,
In the midst of the years, in the midst of the years, that's the midnight cry, right?
Yeah.
Right there, what's being marked?
The middle
A
of-
feast of Belshazzar or a drunken feast?
I was thinking of the midst of the years, but it's a double.
Okay, when does the Lord revive His work?
At the midnight, the church trial.
Yeah, but there's a very classic expression in the Psalms that marks when His work is begun.
On the third day, he's going to
Oh,
revive
it's
us.
time for thee to work.
Ah.
They've made void thy law.
It's time for thee to work, O Lord, for they have made void thy law. So if He's reviving His work, what's happening here in the midst of the years, the midst of the years?
They've made void thy law.
There, at the midnight cry, there's something about God's law that's being made void. This is another evidence of some kind of decree that's an attack on God's law at the midnight cry.
You brought up Bacchus, and I just remembered from the two Babylons, where there was a time where one of the popes decided that they found Peter's chair, and after cleaning it all up, it was the chair of Bacchus. So you got the one of Babylon everywhere.
So you're saying Bacchus is typifying the Pope?
I'm saying the papacy grabbed a chair, called it Peter's chair, but in reality it was the chair of Bacchus, the god of wine, if you came up with that.
My Bible says that if Habakkuk needs to embrace, it comes from a verb.
Yeah, that's the other point. Habakkuk means to bind, to embrace, hand in hand. There's a coming together right here with Habakkuk that is consistent with the binding off period. I was talking about Shigionoth.
Where's the verse Mark quoted, and where's reference to Bacchus?
The reference to Bacchus is the word in Habakkuk 3:1. This word Shigionoth.
No, the one that he quoted.
One at a time. He asked for two. Shigionoth is a poem or a song to Bacchus. Okay, and Bacchus is I guess the god of drunkenness, the way I would define it. But someone find in Psalms where it says, it is time for you have it?
Psalm 7 is the Shigionoth.
Psalm 7 is also a Shigionoth? Okay, I didn't know
It's
that
the title of Psalm 7.
Okay, so first off, which psalm is it? It is time for thee to work, for they've made void thy law.
Psalm 119.
Psalm 119 what?
119, 126.
119, 126. You want to read that? Whose turn is it? Bud? Kathy?
119. It is time for thee, Lord, to work, for they have made void thy law.
And if you type that into the spirit of prophecy, you'll find that she repeatedly uses that at the Sunday law. This is that key there allows you to identify that Revelation 18:4 is a Sunday law, because she'll plug that into Revelation 18:4, and then she'll bring other things in that allows you to see. I mean, you can see it anyway. They made void thy law, but it locks in that the Sunday law in the United States is verse 4 of Revelation 18. That answer your question? Okay, so Psalm 7, I didn't know anything about. Let's go look at.
Spelling.
It's a different spelling.
Same word though. It's in the concordance.
They spell the words differently.
That's in my margin, so
In
Meaning doubtful.
Psalm 7, does it say Shigionoth
What
in the
verse?
Psalm?
Psalm
No.
or verse 1.
No, this is just the Bible commentator saying that this is a Shigionoth of David. And the poem or song of Bacchus is a poem that it bounces all over the place like a drunk would, and it's very emotional. That's the definition of that type of poem or song. But it's a song to, it's not in it. It's not in Psalm 7.
But it's in my writing right
Yeah,
above
it's
it.
at the top.
Oh, it's right up here. Yeah, right here.
It's the same word. I looked it up. It means the same thing.
It's in the title, but it,
What do you mean it's the same word?
Well, that
Is it in Psalm 7?
Which
no,
word?
the
There is no word.
Shigion there that's written there at the top. I just looked it up. It's above the one. It's the same.
But it's not there.
No, not here. But it's. I'm just saying. You're asking, so you can relate it to the same thing. That's all.
Okay. Should we read Psalm 7 and see if it contributes? So you're saying no? How
It's
many
not
want to read?
inspired. The title of that is not an inspired portion of the word.
I have a question because like in
Yeah.
my Bible it's the title, but on my sword and in
7:1.
in Sister White's writings, the Bible, it's in here as it's a verse, verse 1. But it's all King James.
Really?
Well,
Yeah, it says 7:1, but it's not in the word.
I don't see it in mine. It must be hidden, waiting to be unsealed. Let's go back to Habakkuk. I wanted to march through. I don't know if we can do it. We all have lots of contributions today along the way. I don't know we'll get through it, but let's try going through Habakkuk and put it into context that chapter 2 is the Millerite history, but the Millerite history is repeating our history. So when we get to chapter 3, this is the midnight cry of our history. And you'll notice in verse 3 of chapter 3, his glory covers the heavens in this history that's being referred to. But
He comes from Paran.
he comes from Paran.
Even though it's a mountain off the road.
In Psalm 7, it says right here, it says, concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite, and in Habakkuk 3, verses 7, dealing with the tents of Cushan, which is also the Ethiopian, but it's the same Cush. So there is still some connection between those two.
Brother Bud, did you read?
No, but where are you reading?
We're going to read through Habakkuk real fast. Real
Three.
fast. We'll take 4 verses each.
The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see.
What's a
Where?
burden?
Where?
Vision.
Psalm 1:1 or Habakkuk 1:1.
Oh, I thought you were
Vision.
doing 3.
A vision or a message?
Yeah.
Not quite. What's a burden? A prophecy. You're a little bit closer,
Okay.
but not quite there. It's a prophecy of doom. Okay, go ahead.
O
No,
Lord,
what does Habakkuk mean?
To bind?
Well, to bind is my definition. It's to clasp, like clasping hands.
Embrace.
Can two embrace? Can two walk together except they be agreed? Okay, so fire away.
O Lord, how long shall I cry?
What's that?
How long?
So he's asking the question: how long shall he cry? How long marks the Sunday law? What's he doing prior to the Sunday law? He's crying. When's the crying start before the Sunday law? Really? I think at 9/11 an angel comes down out of heaven and he cries loudly.
Loud voice, yeah.
Babylon is fallen, is fallen. How long shall I cry? That's the same thing that Isaiah asked in Isaiah 6, which you mark at 9/11. How long do I have to continue crying to this apostate Adventist church until the Sunday law? Go ahead, brother.
And thou wilt not hear, even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth.
If you're going to mark verse 2, the cry of verse 2 at the midnight cry, it probably works because of fractals and stuff. But if you mark it at 9/11, what would those verses be identifying? The strife and contention. What is that?
The debate going
The
on?
debate. Isaiah 27, verse 8. Okay. Sister Carol?
Okay,
Brother
is that
Jeff?
4 verses?
Just want to point out the word see is the word kazah, which actually is the primary verb for calzone. That is derived from that. So this is connected with the calzone.
Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days, and you will not believe, though it be told you. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, and bitter and hate a bitter
That-
and that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses also are swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteneth to eat.
Okay, so he's going to raise up the Chaldeans. Who's the Chaldeans? The papacy at the end of the world going to get raised up. When did they get raised up? Really?
Well, they already started.
Okay, this is an issue that's been getting nailed down recently. The
9/11.
when a kingdom gets set up, is it a point in time or a progression?
But Psalm
So-
83 says.
three horns, so it's got
Yeah, but
those.
Psalm 83 says they've lifted up.
Thine head. The 10 kings lift up thy head. That's at the conclusion of the setting up.
Yeah, right. But that's progressive. We link Psalm 83 also back to
9/11.
9/11. So it's a progressive lifting.
Okay, so where would you put this step in the progression of lifting up the papacy?
1989.
1989? Why?
Because
That's what it
the papacy was, and we got it.
Okay, so here's my point. A kingdom gets set up progressively, and we can mark the papacy getting lifted up at 1989, at 9/11, Midnight Cry, the Sunday Law. But perhaps this is putting an emphasis on one of those waymarks, right?
What verse was it in that says lifted up?
Psalm 83.
Oh, right here.
Which verse? You ask it.
I raise up. Okay, raise up.
I raise up the Chaldeans, and
I have a question.
what? Wait a second.
Verse 9, I think.
Wait a second. One point at a time. Where would you put it? Sunday law.
Verse 41.
What kind? What kind? The Sunday law. What kind of nation are they?
A hasty name.
Bitter.
A bitter nation.
Midnight cry.
A bitter nation. Okay.
It says it shall march through the breadth of the land. So what's the land?
But
To possess the dwelling places, and it's the glorious land.
And it's the glorious land. And what is emphasized in verse 8?
It says the horses.
Who's
the
that?
eagle, the United States.
That's the United States.
Well, he's about to be lifted up today, is he not?
Yeah, this is a step. Is it today or tomorrow? He's getting
Tomorrow.
lifted up. He's going into Congress and all this
Tomorrow he's in
foolishness.
Congress.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
He gets here today though.
According to Don Frost and all his advocates, probation closes for Seventh-day Adventists tomorrow.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, he's going into Congress. That's the Sunday law. That's the close of probation. And all the followers of Don Frost said, "Amen."
Except I'm not even sure that he believes Adventists get their probation closed.
Yeah.
But yeah, his implications.
If it's about being in front of the people and being exalted, it doesn't matter if you say several things that contradict each other at the same time. Brother Tyler.
It's also important to see that all this is future. He's saying they will judge, they will tread in the dwelling places or possess the dwelling places. They haven't done it yet, because that would be the Sunday law. So we're looking before then, you know.
Would it? I agree with you, but would it?
I believe.
I'm seeing personally that the characteristics of the Sunday law are first marked at the midnight cry.
Yeah, the Sabbath is being marked there. Several witnesses.
Well, if you're marking them being...
Now, is there an image of the beast that goes on in the United States before the image of the beast goes on in the world?
Yes. Yeah.
Where's the image of the beast in the world begin?
Midnight cry.
The Sunday law.
Sunday
That's
law.
image of the beast in the world. And where's the image of the beast in the United States begin?
Oh, at the midnight cry. Sorry.
Okay, so there's a lot of evidence that there's some kind of capturing of the United States, right, in a more profound way at the midnight cry.
if we were to look at this point from the light of cause to effect, wouldn't Sunday law would be the effect of the cause that happened prior?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Mark's been emphasizing
So
for a long time. What went on in 1989? How does he say it?
Islam.
No,
Silent.
with the relationship between the United States and the papacy.
Oh, the marriage.
The marriage, and then you got your birth pangs.
Yeah.
but according to the Book of Esther, we're told that Haman was about ready to inflict the death decree or to bring in the Sunday law. You
Well,
in
we know that
9/11.
in 9/11 they already had the Sunday law written,
So-
so he was about to, doesn't mean it was happening yet.
But I'm just saying that they've already pre-planned this, so it's like the cause to effect. It's progressive, but the effect of it will basically see it taking place as Sunday law.
The effect of what?
Of their mingling and trying to pre-plan this of how to get rid of God's people.
But what causes them to put up the Sunday law? The sign of Jonah the prophet. that's the cause. The effect is the image of the beast.
Really?
Islam's the cause.
Islam's the cause, right?
Islam's the cause. So
National apostasy is followed by national.
you don't
in
think
different ways.
you don't think the Sunday law is what allows the Lord to use Islam as chastisement for the Sunday law?
I do.
Yeah.
But it's also the reason that's the whole thing is, the whole reason the whole premise they're setting up a Sunday law is because there's this worldwide threat that they have to counter, and that's Islam.
But it's not just that. Sister Wright points out that even the world, the weather and everything
Yeah.
else, will. So it's not. They're not.
There's
only-
obviously there's a lot of factors.
Exactly. that
There's a
play
lot of
into
factors.
that.
But
What releases the attack of Islam is the apostasy of the Sunday law.
Yeah.
Are you putting the attack of Islam before the Sunday law or after?
It depends which attack you're talking
We're
about.
talking about the Sunday law.
The Sunday law attack? I guess, I don't know, it would be, I don't know, I just mark it at the Sunday law.
Yeah,
Point
well,
of period.
if you don't know, that's fine.
No, I don't thought
But
about
what
it.
I'm saying, if you're
That
talking
part.
about cause and effect, you shouldn't talk about cause and effect unless you know that, because if the Sunday law is what causes Islam to attack, or if Islam is what brings the Sunday law, it tweaks your application about cause and effect.
I think they're both right at one level. Because it's like the papacy being used to chastise God's people, but at the same time, they're the thing that have...
Well, why was the papacy allowed to chastise God's people?
They apostatized?
What's the symbol of their apostasy?
The Sunday... Are you...
Sunday law.
Sunday law.
Sister Tamia.
The Sunday law is the effect of the cause of Islam at the midnight cry, and the strike of Islam is the effect of the cause of the false marriage law at the midnight cry. So they both always go.
Okay, so you're making it sound like it's some kind of will, because then I would argue the attack of Islam at the midnight cry, what restraint gets removed that allows them to attack? Is it this decree at the midnight cry about marriage or whatever it is that allows Islam to strike?
It's the apostasy from the United States at the midnight cry.
Yeah, but
and it keeps everything flowing then.
they may void that law. Islam strikes. But the cause of Islam striking, the effect is the image being set up. Because they're not going to listen. They're given the prediction. They told you make void the law.
Well, that may be.
Yeah.
But to portray it the way that you guys did initially, you're leaving out the apostasy. The apostasy is the cause that affects Islam. And now if you want to say, okay, Islam is the cause of the image of the beast, you got to mark them all. Or the effect of
Because
the
in
image of the beast.
1888, had they accepted it, we wouldn't even be here discussing this.
Yeah, but we understand that Islam is the scourge against an apostate church. Scourge. Same thing. I get your point.
Maybe in Scotland.
Okay, so it's a scourge against an apostate church. So you have that cause and effect.
Yes.
So, but I think Tamina was saying the same thing. You have the cause and effect. You have the apostasy. The effect of that is Islam. But on another hand, what Islam causes brings an effect. They're going to set up the image because of Islam.
Yeah,
but they're not
I
realizing
agree.
it because when
what I'm saying is you guys are leaving off the apostasy.
Which starts
When all you talk about, not saying this is all you talk about, but if you only identify the image of the beast being the effect of the strike of Islam at this waymark, you're leaving out the prior
you've
waymark
got to include them all. But Ahab says it very clear, right? He blames Elijah. Art thou he that troubleth Israel? Says, no, it's not because of me that's trouble, it's because of your sin. So he points it back to that. So all things are incorporated in that.
The apostasy.
So what she's saying that Islam at the midnight cry is what produces the effect at the Sunday law. This is a will.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
a will.
Which starts 1989 because of the apostasy.
Yeah.
Apostasy leads to Islam, and then Islam leads to a response by the world. That's a way of
it
saying
keeps going
Yeah.
further in the darkness.
Yeah.
Sister Carol.
Yeah, I think there's something significant here where it says their judgment and their dignity precede themselves. It's talking about the swift action,
What verse?
precede
Oh.
of themselves. Yeah, that's verse 7. Because these 4 verses are describing the swiftness, how they go through the land, they march through the land quickly, and we can see that today. We can see how quickly everything is happening. But the Catholic Church right now, the Pope's coming, he's made judgments, and he's planning on these being carried out, and his dignity. Everyone looks at him as, they look at him in a different way. And then the verse brings out how terrible he is. If you go on, it'll describe, he's come for violence, but no one recognizes that.
Whose turn to read?
I have a
Sister
question about your progression of the kingdoms. So the 6th kingdom dies at the Sunday law, and then the 7th kingdom is the United Nations. I recognize that the United Nations, without pomp or circumstances, is raising the papal flag over, for the first time ever, over their, their whatever. So we know the papal flag.
Their whatever. What does that mean?
They raise flags.
They raise a flag.
Yeah, they're raising the Palestinian flag, but they're also raising the papal flag for this visit of the Pope. With
Okay.
no pomp and circumstance. But we know after the 7th kingdom, that's really when the 8th kingdom comes into power. So it sometimes seems like when you're saying that you're setting up the papacy starting at 1989, that there's really a skipping over of this 7th kingdom that really reigns before the 8th kingdom comes into power, and I don't know how you're justifying that.
What do you mean skipping over?
I mean, we're not really putting that into play. We're saying, okay, the papacy is rising, but really you have a 7th kingdom that's in there. So are we saying because they...
How does the papacy rise?
That's what we've just been talking about for the last 5 minutes.
Go to Psalms 48. Is it 48?
83.
83.
I understand that it's got the 10, the Confederacy, I
But what do
understand.
they do?
They lift up their head.
They lift up the head.
So they're right now lifting up the head of the papacy when they raise the flag over themselves.
Yeah, that's a step in that process, but they lift up the head when they agree to let him be the moral authority over the United Nations, but it's progressive. But this is one of the stepping stones. They're going to lift up him as the head. Sister White says, under one head, and that's the head that gets lifted up by the 10 kings.
Well, I believe when the Pope is here, he's going to be speaking to the United Nations too. Actually, there's...
Yeah, that's what she was just saying.
Yeah, so it's actually happening right in our country. Here we have the 8th kingdom, or the 8th power, that is going to be speaking with the 7th power in our own country.
It's the
Where
legislature.
6 and the 7.
You got 6,
Yeah.
7, and 8 basically all together.
Yeah.
Just the raising of the flag, it's like, yeah.
Okay, Tamina.
I understand what Brahman says, but it reminds me of Revelation 17. You have the 10 kingdoms, the 10 heads, but the woman sits on the heads. So it's at the same time. They reign, but she's reigning too, sitting on them, leading them.
Wait a second, Tyler. Just to remind us, go to Psalm 83. I mean, this we should already have locked down, I would think. Verse 1 says, keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. And this is where, as you read on, it's the 10 kings. And Sister White has a quote where she says, talking about this evil confederacy, she says, under one head.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
when do they do that? What way mark do
Well,
they lift up the head?
that's something, if you haven't, and you weren't in there, you were cooking, but we knew it before, this wasn't any new light. But Michael and Noel both address this. When Christ set up his kingdom of glory, or he set up, or his kingdom of grace at first, and then the kingdom of glory, it's progressive.
Yes.
It's progressive.
I understand that.
So there's a progressive lifting up of the papacy that's been going on since 1963 at least.
But by the 10 kings? When do the kings,
Well,
10
they're
kings start lifting up this progressive lifting up of the one head to where it's finally established?
Well, you're the one that brought it up. They're raising his flag over the United Nations building.
He's never out the media. I mean, all the world is wondering after him at the moment. They're lifting him.
We have to consider the fact that first the United States lifted it up in, Revelation 13, and then you have the national Sunday law. Universal Sunday law. So you do see a lifting up from the United States, which is a part of the 10 Kings anyway. So I don't see that that's an issue.
At the Sunday law, you have the religious union of all three coming together. You can show that in a lot of different ways. The 6th, 7th, and 8th all come together under one head, and that is, we've talked about it before, that seems to at one level contradict what the progression of Revelation 17 is 6, 7, 8, but it doesn't, because it's only one aspect of it. It's the religious entity. But at the same time, the life of the 7th is so short that it almost immediately gives its power to the 8th, because in doing what they're doing, they're giving their power to the 8th. It's a, for whatever reason, you have to see that sequence, but at the same time, you see all of them coming together at the Sunday law.
You have to see that sequence because it's teaching the lesson of how the threefold union comes together. First the United States, United Nations, papacy. There's a sequence, even though it's very rapid. There was a hand over there, and then Tanya. This is turning not into so much as a class as it is a discussion group, and that's all right, but we don't get through the material. Go ahead. I wanted to get through Habakkuk today.
I would just point out that Sunday law, we know that Sister Rice says that it's coming to a dark places, hidden places. And so in a way there's a hiding in there too until finally the Sunday law appears. So even though
the work for Sunday legislation is going on in darkness.
Yeah, so kind of hidden me, right? Nobody really knows what's going on. They don't really know the real purpose of what they're getting together. And all of these things are just kind of overlapping each other, which is progressively overlapping until they reach the high point of Sunday law.
Whose turn to read? Sister Heather, 9 through 12.
They shall come all for violence, their faces shall suck up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. O Lord, thou hast ordained them for judgment, and Almighty God, thou hast established them for correction.
No. Why are they established?
Because they established the vision.
Because they are the rod of correction. They're the rod of God's chastisement.
They're ordained as a lamp.
The word mind, it's actually the word ruah, which is also the word for wind or breath. So then shall he change his mind, actually, it could also be wind, just like he...
Who's ordained for judgment? Who are you saying?
All mankind.
People. Okay, I thought it's saying that the Chaldeans are ordained to judge God's people,
like
and they will establish the vision because they're used for correction.
Daniel 11:14. That's what it sounded like to me too.
Daniel 11:14.
The robbers of thy people, they establish the vision. They're ordained for judgment.
I just wondered who the subject was. Them is the them the Chaldeans, or is the them
Sounds
God's
like the
people?
Chaldeans.
It sounds like the Chaldeans.
Who else would it be? I never even thought it could be anything other than that.
He ordained for a lamp, and then I thought, well, maybe you guys were saying
right.
that it
No,
wasn't.
I thought you were saying it was something. I think you were referring to God's people. But I get his point.
Isaiah 10:5.
Yeah, they're the rod of
chastisement.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Brother Noel.
Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devoureth the man that is more righteous than he? And makest men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them? They take up all of them with the eagle.
Angle. Read all the way to the end, by the way, of
They
the
take-
chapter.
They take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net, and gather them in their drag. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net, and burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat, and their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net, and not spare continually to slay the nations?
What's their net?
Deceptions, delusions.
Yeah.
Well, what's the
It's
true
almost
net?
like the sting of the scorpion.
You have the
Isn't
gospel
that
net, and you
false
have
gospel, and
the
you have
the counterfeit.
You have a gospel net?
Yes.
Fishing for
Counter-
men.
So what's the gospel net? Brother Peter, this is your
Christ.
The everlasting
You're not
gospel.
Peter.
The everlasting gospel.
And the everlasting gospel is?
Oh, I don't have that memorized.
Do you know what it is, even if you don't have it memorized?
3-part message.
Okay, a 3-part. So you're saying this is the counterfeit?
Yeah.
3-part. So what does verse 15 say? The angle, the net, and their drag.
Oh, okay.
The counterfeit 3 angels' messages. So what is their net?
Spiritualism.
What is the 3rd angel's message? Sunday law. But the Sunday law is in contrast with
The Sabbath.
the Sabbath.
Okay.
God's net is the Sabbath. Their net is Sunday.
Right.
This is where they draw everyone in and slaughter them. Right?
Makes sense.
But one of their tools has been solidarity. That's something that you see the King of the North has used tremendously.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with this? I mean, this is talking about their net. It's talking about a specific subject that it captures the world with. That's Sunday. You're not getting the mark of solidarity. You're getting the mark of the beast, which is Sunday worship.
Verse 16, they worship their net.
They worship their net. They worship Sunday.
Their focus is to bring everybody one that they would accept Sunday. And
Right.
so what I'm saying is that the procedure or the cause in order to get to the effect of them accepting Sundays, it has been solidarity. In solidarity, you'll find somebody's there too. Solidarity is basically.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's not in here. What's being marked here is Sunday, in contrast with Sabbath. And there's all kinds of background prophetic connections to the Sunday law. But this is the counterfeit 3rd angel's message.
So they light the candles when they light them. Is that to Mary? Is their drag Mary, or is it their idolatry? Because it says they burn incense to their drag. And you know, in all the Catholic churches that we've seen in South America, they go in and they light these candles to these big images. A lot of times it's Mary. Wrong? Haven't we
Well,
thought that Mary is?
They
is
impute
Mary?
they get to the end and he imputes his power to his God. Verse 11, then shall his mind change and he shall pass over and offend, imputing his power unto his God. Who is his God in Daniel 11:37 through 39. He's going to worship a God that his fathers knew not. And he's going to
Goddess of fortresses.
heap the goddess of fortresses. Who is that?
She's Mary.
Mary.
So their drag is Mary.
No, their drag is Sunday.
Oh.
But you're doing what she's doing. You're taking all the
Pieces of it.
things that connect and lead to the Sunday law, and they're all valid. All I'm saying is what's being marked here in this history is the counterfeit 3 angels' messages.
Okay.
It's Sunday and counterfeit to Sabbath. Perhaps. Chapter 2. We got 20 minutes to knock down 2 chapters, and I want to get to
15.
chapter 3 as the punchline. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am argued with. And the Lord answered me. And when are we argued with? That word reproved, even the
Right
pioneers
now.
emphasized argued with. 9/11. What is it?
9/11.
It's the debate.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. What's the appointed time? Sunday law. But at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul is lifted up, which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith.
Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heaped unto him all people. Shall not all these things take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself this with thick clay. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for foodies unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein.
Who's the remnant of the people that are going to spoil the papacy?
The 144,000.
It's Moab, even the sheep that showed
It's the nations.
They burn her flesh.
Verse 7, they're going to bite him. They're going to vex him. The remnant of people, the 10 kings are the ones that are going to burn her with fire and eat her flesh. Yeah, it's the 144,000 that destroys all the kingdoms. But isn't this talking about them waking up and realizing that they're lost because of the false three angels' messages?
I thought because of spoil, it's the 144,000 giving the message, and they spoil Babylon by taking their people, taking their goods, their jewels, because the people are their jewels, right? So the 144,000 would be taking their jewels. So they're spoiling.
I think it's
the nations.
Nations.
Well, it does say that the Bible, it says to eat her flesh.
Yeah. Go ahead, my brother Michael.
Verse 9.
Yep.
Woe to him that covereth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil.
If he set his nest, what is he?
He's a bird.
He's a bird. Will the two sisters in the back save their discussion until later?
They can't even hear you.
Will the two sisters in the back get involved with what's going on here in verse 10?
Thou hast consulted shame into thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, that establisheth a city by iniquity.
Okay, so what's the stone that cries out?
Did the builders reject it?
Okay, Christ is the stone that was rejected, but what's the stone that cries out?
The
rocks that cry out.
The rocks will cry.
The rocks are the rocks will cry out. Go to 1 Peter.
This is the stone from the wall.
Yeah, 1 Peter chapter 2. Who is it that cries out against the papacy just at the basic level?
God's people.
God's people. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5.
He also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ.
God's people cry out of the wall. Where do they cry out of? The midnight cry, the Sunday law, the two walls. They cry out of the wall.
Isn't there a distinction between the house and the wall?
Isn't there a distinction between the house and the wall?
Well, it says the stones make up a wall, which makes up the house. So there's.
What's the distinction? What are you getting at?
Of just a little vision in my mind, there's a house and there's the wall that basically encloses
The wall holds the house up.
What that may be, but what is the wall of prophecy that we're dealing with?
Midnight cry.
It's the midnight cry way mark and the Sunday law. Okay, and this Jerusalem may be surrounded by that wall, may be right there in the middle, but what Jerusalem is doing is crying out of the wall. Why is it crying out of the wall? Because this is where it begins. The midnight cry begins at that decree, right?
What's the beam that answers?
The beam that answers.
Is that the Sunday law which answers it?
What's the beam that answers? Who had to, remove the beam out of your eye? And didn't Samson use a beam once? Maybe not.
Says the beam shall witness against it. To me, a beam is a line.
A line.
It goes across the
A
house.
beam of light.
It's what holds up things. It's like a.
There was one watchman on the wall.
I have an idea of that the rocks crying out of the wall is God's people crying out at the midnight cry or the loud cry, but I don't know what the beam is. Someone needs to dig that
It says
up.
fastening.
The fastening, the binding off.
Yeah.
So my brother Gabriel,
Those that are
13.
did he not read the last one? Read the last one, brother. Behold, I'll read it. Behold, I'm against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will burn her chariots in the smoke, and the sword shall devour thy young lions, and I will cut off thy prey from the earth, and the voice of thy messengers shall no more be heard. Okay, so that's the context that leads us to chapter 3. Now, Brother Gabriel.
Chapter 3.
No. I read verse 13 of Nahum. Okay. Yes. Read verse 13 through 17. Or through 13, 14, 15, 16.
Verse 12 does not have to do with rebuilding Jericho.
Yeah, probably. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establish a city by iniquity. Jericho gets rebuilt and taken down. Probably.
Behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on thy nakedness. Thou art filled with shameful glory. Then drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory.
What's that talking about?
9:11, the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. Verse 14.
Okay, so if it's 9/11, what's it mean in verse 13? That the people are going to labor in the very fire.
Troublous times.
Yeah.
Troublous times. Is there a work to do during the time of the latter rain?
So to walk us through the fire, I'll be with you.
Yeah, Peter said, think it not strange this fiery trial was to come upon you. Is there some strange thing happening?
Okay, so what's the fiery trial that comes on God's people at 9/11? First, just right into 9/11 history. What's the debate? Is it with the papacy?
No, it's within.
It's within. And what's the woe?
The spiritual formation, the debate over what happened to our church.
Yeah,
Really?
the
I don't
woe
think
with
it's spiritual
Islam.
formation. The
Islam.
church has passed by.
Isn't this Daniel 9, the troublous times, the streets and walls should be built in troublous times or something like that? This is when that work is getting done, because it didn't happen before, so now you have to do it under distress.
Okay, in verse 13, if we have to labor in the fire, if the fire is the latter rain time period, and verse 14 is the latter rain time period, then it says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink and makes him drunken.
Yeah, that's false doctrine.
That's false prophecy in this history.
Basically, the debate of restoring the old past between.
Haven't you seen an argument over to foods to eat in this history?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
Is
you're
there a
asking
woe pronounced upon those people that are
Yeah.
delivering the wine?
Yeah, you're asking what's the woe.
I'm not asking what the woe is.
Oh, I thought that's what you
I'm,
were
I'm just saying, what is this controversy? I'm saying this is internal to
Yeah.
this message and movement.
Yeah.
Doesn't it stay internal until the Sunday law?
The midnight cry starts.
Going outward.
It looks
Yeah,
like
the-
in
but
You're
verse
still
6.
Heathen
focusing
are
on the,
awakened.
you're still focusing on the Levites.
On Adventism,
Right.
but at the midnight cry, the heathen begin to get wakened to this
Yes.
situation. Brown, Tyler, Michael.
Looks like in verse 16, they're exposed that they were never truly baptized because it shows that their foreskin, they're uncovered that they never were circumcised, so they never were of us, and the cup of their judgment is full.
Because at 9/11 we
Yeah,
got our
and
circumcision.
who's giving them the cup of the judgment? The other people that are laboring in the fire from 9/11, they're the butler.
The butler, yeah.
They're Nehemiah, who is the Lord's cupbearer. Go ahead.
Never mind.
I want to point out that
Yeah, it is. Michael surrendered
that thou
his.
mayest look on their nakedness. This takes us back to the history of Noah and Ham. And the curse that came upon Canaan.
That thou mayest, it takes us back there, but in the debate, the argument that goes on in this message between those people that are given God's wine and Satan's wine, okay, and there's a woe pronounced upon those that are handing out Satan's wine. It says that thou may lookest on their nakedness. What's that referring to?
They don't have the
They don't have
righteousness of Christ.
That is their nakedness, but it's saying that thou may lookest.
The
Oh, it's
veil is
visual.
pulled down.
It's the visual
You can
test.
see the
You're
fanaticism.
required to see the distinction between who's naked and who's clothed.
It says
To discern between good and evil.
it's saying,
Yeah.
woe unto them that return to the false apostate Protestant doctrines and teach
That
for my commandments the doctrines of men.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. Right now, during the time when the Lord's glory is filling the earth.
Yeah.
whose turn?
What, 17?
To all the way to the end.
Okay. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. What profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it?
What's that?
What prophet is
The
there?
graven image.
Image of the beast.
Test number one. Test number one at 9/11. It's the first generation. It's the image of jealousy. If we're placing this in the time period when the earth is filled with His glory, go ahead.
The molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein to make dumb idols. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, Awake, to the dumb stone, Arise. It shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Amen.
Verse 19. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Verse 19 is like the opposite of verse 11, because it says that the stone of the wall will cry out and the beam will answer, but here it says this beam and not this beam, but wood and stone are dumb. So
It's
it,
the-
they,
And there's no
it's like
breath.
they're a complete
But-
contrast.
It's a
But their
counterfeit
message is what?
It's kind of-
It's counterfeit to
It's a-
this
yeah,
message.
it's
Do
a
we have an
counterfeit.
awakening and a rising in this
binding.
message?
It's
Yeah.
a counterfeit
Yes.
binding off.
Yes.
That's what's.
Yes.
In verse
Yeah.
18, you have three distinctive things: a graven image, a molten image, and a teacher of lies.
Counterfeit, three angels' messages that is internal, whereas the previous is the counterfeit three angels' message of the papacy.
Here we can say like Moses, their rock is not our rock, from Deuteronomy 32, as we studied recently. They have this dumb stone, but we have Habakkuk's tables, the rock of ages.
How do you justify keeping silence when we recognize that the Lord is in the most holy place and we pull back the veil at the midnight cry and we're going out with a loud cry? What do you say that silence means when we're actually allowed to speak then?
Being hidden.
Because there's no message from Zechariah. He struck down.
No, that's not at 9/11. This is at the midnight cry.
Yeah, but that's right. But you're to keep silence
At the midnight cry, when you see the Lord in his most holy place, you're to start speaking, so how do you justify the keeping of silence there?
Not to the world. If we're saying it's in the world context, then you still don't have a message to the Sunday law to the world. This
But the
would be to
midnight
the
cry is
Levites.
the Sunday law on one.
Yeah, but are you making that
Yeah.
chronological? I don't know.
But you can't.
No, I'm making it just like we've been teaching on Sabbath. The Lord's in his most holy place at the midnight cry, and we see that. Why are we keeping silent when that's our time to start sharing?
It does say all the earth keeps
Yeah.
silent, so maybe it's talking more about the Gentiles.
But only us would see the Lord in his holy temple at the midnight cry. No one else has seen
I
that
see.
truth. Okay, just a question.
So even if it's only us that are seeing him in the most holy place, that doesn't deny that the pronouncement when he's in there is let the earth keep silent.
So they can hear us speaking? Or?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. It's now you need to pay
Listen.
attention to these people. These
Okay.
people have.
If-
They have nothing to say.
If this
They got nothing to say at that
if
time.
this is 9/11 that we were just reading about and the debate that goes on at 9/11, the Lord is in his holy temple at 9/11, okay? And let the earth keep silent. Who's the earth?
United States.
The United States.
Yes.
When does the United States speak?
Like at the
Sunday law.
At the Sunday law. Let all the earth keep silent until this controversy in Adventism is finished. Brother Peter, you want to have a closing prayer?
Dear Father in heaven, thank you for your infinite love. Thank you for your word and the way you open it up to us. We praise you for this time that we could study and learn. May we remember the things we learned, and may our understanding be open further. May you guide and lead us throughout this day. Keep us close to you, and may our thoughts ever be upon you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.